How are we? Hello everyone, welcome back to another deadline stream. It is game week 27. How are we all? I hope we are doing well. Good to see you all in this morning, this afternoon, this evening, a slightly later deadline for game week 27. I hope you're all well. Yeah, basically another deadline stream. It feels like a week where there's quite a lot of people rolling the transfer, but if there are questions from you all in the chat, we will do all of those. And we've got some other stuff to talk about and discuss later on in the stream, some things to show you, which is exciting. So we will do all of that later on. No early kickoff sucks. I normally agree, particularly because when there's like an 11:30 deadline, for me, that's not enough time to do anything, particularly in the morning. But today I got up a bit earlier, went for a run. Feel like I've been slightly more productive this morning than I normally am. I feel like when it's a lunchtime deadline, I just waste that first like 2 hours of the day, just waiting for the stream and waiting to get on with it. So I normally just like the early mornings or the Friday evenings because it works slightly better. But today I did slightly more. So I'm feeling a bit more productive, but I'm also feeling a little bit more rushed around to make sure I'm getting here. And apologies, I'm late again. I'm going to set a resolution for probably next season that I'm actually going to start the stream, me talking at the time of the start of the stream, not 5 minutes later with it going live at the time. So that's going to be my new resolution, that I'm not setting everything up at the last minute. But we will talk about lots of stuff. But before we do, let's say hello to some of you in the chat. Let's say hello. Say hello there if you are in and watching this morning. We will get around to all the usual bits of stuff like questions, but let's say hello to some of you first. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Don, Farbrough, Ewan, FPL Vert, Ozspike, Aviation, Marco, FPL Vert, John, Immortal, Hail, Hitcham. Welcome to David. Hello to Fiona. Hello to Luke. Hello to Callum. Hello, Shane. Embiid. Don. Hello to all the members and moderators in this morning. A special thanks to you all for your support on the channel, and to everyone else, to Braden, Hand, Mr. PJ, Sanu, Sennies, Mikey, Ludwig, Tino, Amir, Saksham, Obino, Adam, Lord from Finland. Hello. Tim, Alvin, Dipser, Ellen, Native, Cow, Cock, Gooch, 1962. Who else have we got? Ruben, FPL Predictions, Zeeth, Akil, Josh, Jake, and Shadow, Rex, and Nuclear. Hello to you all, Matt, as well. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Yeah, it feels like it's been quite a long time. Maybe it was just me because I've been quite busy over the past the past week and a half with it being Holly's birthday. But I feel like it's been so long since the last deadline. Feels like game week 26 absolutely dragged on. And I don't think I'm alone in thinking that. It feels like it has gone on for a long time. And it always feels worse when you get a red arrow as well. When you've got to stare at a red arrow. Like, it's like when you get a red arrow going into an international break and you've got to stare at a red arrow for 2 weeks. It doesn't feel great. And it was another red arrow for me, unfortunately, last week. And I look at my team this week and I probably think it will be the same again this week. I think this is the last week where I look at it where I think my team particularly looks worse than others. I think from next week onwards, I start to get back to a point where I'm quite happy with the way that my team looks. But I think that this week again, I don't love the way that it looks. Like, Ryan Gabriel is fine. I think there's a chance that Spurs score, but I do think people are overreacting with the selling of the Arsenal defenders and how bad they've been. I think they've still kept 5 clean sheets in the last 8 or something like that. So I still think they're a pretty, like 1, 2, 3, 4 in the last 7. So still over a 50% in the last 7. So I don't mind that. Like Richards would be fine at home to Wolves, but Palace look all over the place. Wolves just scored twice against Arsenal, and Palace are now without Lacroix as well. So that doesn't feel great. Anderson is away from home. If that fixture was Sunderland at home, I would feel all right about it. So defensively, I still feel like I'm quite light. I think that's where my team looks weaker to a lot of other people's. And Burmo, Bruno, Dewsbury Hall, Rice, I think is okay. The fixtures this week just aren't perfect for them. Like, would I rather have like an Enzo, even a João Pedro, a Palmer in there? Yes, like Rodgers has got Leeds at home. There are lots of other good midfielders that people have got this week. I suppose the only positive to my team is I think my forward line is quite good, and it's probably a forward line that I quite like the look of over the next 4 weeks until the wildcard. So, yeah, we'll see how this week goes. From next week, when I sell Rice, and I'm probably going to go to Vert for their fixtures. I've got Thiago, Bruno, and Burmo have some quite nice games. I'll probably bring in another defender. So yeah, let's see how this week goes. Anyway, that's enough about my team. Let's talk and do some questions in the chat. People are looking at selling Timber. I think there is a chance he doesn't start. I do think he does, though. I just don't think this is the game that he'll take him out for. I would be very surprised if Timber doesn't start. People saying sell Timber in the chat. He's still one of the best defenders in the game to own. Like, people are selling him like there. Timber to Senesi. There's no way that Senesi is a better pick for me this week than Timber is. Like, Timber still plays for the defence that is top for expected goals conceded over the season and over the last 6. Like, even when you look at last 6 data, Arsenal is still top for expected goals conceded. So it doesn't really change my thinking on it. And even people doing Timber to Van Dijk, I don't know how much that's needed to do either this week. I think Van Dijk is probably slightly better, but is he drastically better? Like, if I go last 6 matches, hang on, and look at the... Ooh. Yeah. I'll just get some of the data up for the last 6 and we'll have a look at it. I just don't feel like there is the need to rush. Like, S-Pan is asking, Span is... Why did I just split the word span into S-Pan? Anyway, Span has asked Timber to Virgil van Dijk. And I'm just not really sure that I'd be charging into that transfer this week. If you've got 3 or 4 transfers, then maybe, because it's probably a transfer you might want to do next week. But I still look at it this week and think it's pretty close between the two of them. Like Rice to Szoboszlai, I don't think I'd be doing that transfer this week either. Like, so the rush to sell all your Arsenal players, I just don't think it needs to be quite the panic. So look, like XGC over the last... Oh, sorry, I'm filtered to last season. I was looking at someone else. Who was I looking at last season's data for? I can't even remember now. But I do remember doing it. So yeah, I wouldn't be rushing to sell all your Arsenal players if you don't have to. I'm quite happy to keep Rice and Raya for the next game in particular. And then after that, Rice will go. Someone in the chat is asking, if Vert blanks again, do I still think that I'll look to buy him? I think the answer is probably. Because part of the reason that I don't think I need to rush to buy him this week is I don't think the fixture away at Forest is perfect. Like, I don't think it's the most amazing fixture for him. But his data has still been pretty good, right? 0.67 XGI against Newcastle, 0.72 against Sunderland, like 1.1 against Burnley. He is very much involved. So I still think that is the plan for me. And I do say, if I had exact money, or I had the money to do the direct transfer, I still think I would do it. Like, if I could go directly from Rice to Wirtz this week, I think I would probably do it. It's just, it costs a second transfer, which I don't think is obvious for me where to do it this week. So yeah, like, even over the last 6, when you include the horrendous performance that apparently they put in over the double, they've still conceded 3.19 XGC. The second best is 5.5 for Man United. So I still don't... I like, if you want to sell Rice because there's another explosive midfielder, then that's fine. But yeah, I just wouldn't be rushing to bin them all off. You want Semenyo back, but need info, they won't blank. So, for anyone who's not watched the complete guide video from yesterday, there is a section in it about the fact that Manchester City might not blank in game week 31 that I just don't see enough people talking about. So I put it in that video. If you want to see the detail of it, then go and watch that video. It's still relevant after the deadline, right? But basically, if Manchester City lose to Newcastle in the Cup, between game week 31 and 32, there's effectively a 2-week break. There's an FA Cup weekend and there's an international break. So if Manchester City lose to Newcastle, then Manchester City and Palace are both out of the FA Cup, which means their fixture could go into that FA Cup weekend and they could just stay having a normal fixture in game week 31, right? So it is possible that City don't blank. So if we get to that situation and City don't blank, it's going to look really stupid that we didn't just buy Semenyo because he looks like such a good purchase at the moment, especially for their next 4 games. So if you're wondering about buying Semenyo and you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to buy him because he's definitely going to blank, there is a chance that he doesn't blank. Now, even if they lose to Newcastle, the fixture might not go there. But I just thought it was worth mentioning that people are going, oh, I'm not going to buy Semenyo. And I'm not buying Semenyo because I still think the chance of them blanking is quite high. And I'd rather, go for someone like Wirtz. But there is a chance that City don't blank in 31, which would make O'Reilly, it would make Semenyo look like great purchases at the moment. Like, if they weren't blanking, Rice to Semenyo, Tarkowski to O'Reilly would be really popular and be very easy for me. But unfortunately, that game is not until after... So game week 27, game week 28, and then game week 29 is midweek. After game week 29 is when we'll know, going into game week 30. So we won't know for a couple of weeks yet until we get that cup game out of the way. And there's quite a lot of FPL between now and then. So that's the only issue, is that you've got to make a decision without really having all the information. Have I already started looking at a Wildcard 32 draft or too far to say right now? So again, the reason that you can't look at a game week 32 wildcard is part of the reason to wildcard in 32 is to decide and have a team full of players who double in game week 33. But we won't know who's going to double in 33 until about a week before game week 32. So actually, that game week 31 to game week 32 is like 3 weeks. But we're only going to get the double announcement a few days before the game week 32 deadline. So we're actually not going to have as much time to plan for that wild card as maybe people think. But we can cross that bridge once we get there. I am going to do a chip strategy video over the next couple of weeks at some point, and then we'll probably do it again once we get round to that section of the FA Cup. Thank you all for joining, by the way, in this morning. If you could drop a like on the video, that would be great. So yeah, effectively, if you look at game week, so if I go fixtures and go FDR, does it have the date? Yeah. So like, there's a huge gap between 31 and 32. There's like 3 weeks, right? But actually the FA Cup weekend that we need in order to decide our wild card for game week 32 is only like a week before. It's like the 4th and 5th and 8th of April. So actually there's not that much turnaround for the wild card into that. So it's going to be like last year where there's basically 2 weeks where you won't have much content from me and from others, because we won't be able to do anything until that FA Cup round is out the way. So game week 31, then it's international break weekend, then it's FA Cup weekend, and then it's game week 32. But that is quite a long way away. So let's get back to the chat. If you could drop a early like on the stream, that would be fantastic. So, Captain João Pedro. Let's talk a little bit about captaincy. Kill is asking about captaining João Pedro. I think if I owned Cole Palmer, he would be my captain this week. I think Palmer is better than Haaland, but I'm not certain João Pedro is. I think João Pedro is very close, and I have no issue with someone going for João Pedro over going for Haaland as captain. I do think I would go Palmer over Haaland. I think João Pedro is closer just because Palmer has that penalty appeal. He has that just better open play sort of involvement. Despite how good João Pedro's been, the pens for Palmer is probably enough to sway me in his favour. So I think João Pedro is 3. He's 3 in my ranking. Now, some people in the chat are saying last time Haaland scored against Newcastle was 2023. His record against Newcastle in terms of goals scored is not great. He's only scored 1 Premier League goal against Newcastle since he joined. But like earlier on in the season, he got 1.54 XG in that game. I don't really pay much attention to historical performances against certain clubs, if I'm honest. I don't think it's a great indicator of what's going to happen. We also heard it earlier on in the season when people said his record against Bournemouth, and we had it earlier on. It was Bournemouth and Liverpool, I think, where people said they're not going to captain him because his record is really bad. So he scored a 13-pointer against Bournemouth, and he scored a 4-pointer against Liverpool because he missed a pen. That would have been another 13-pointer. So, listen, it doesn't put me off the Haaland captaincy, no. So yeah, he's still the best captaincy pick for me, I think. Richard still ahead of Anderson in the benching ranking, even with Lacroix out. It's pretty close. I think they're next to each other, aren't they? I mean, maybe they shouldn't be. I expect like 3 points, 2 points from both of them, which doesn't feel great. Like, I have even considered just playing Tarkowski, but I don't expect much from him either. But this is my issue. And in that video I did yesterday, I spoke about the benefit of rolling your transfer this week, because I don't think there's many great fixtures to buy from. Like, if you're buying a defender this week, who are we realistically buying that is good for the long term as well? Everyone's saying like James Hill, but like West Ham away is not an amazing fixture that we have to buy a 4 million defender from. Yes, he's got attacking returns recently, but they've still been quite lucky. Like, yeah, he might get DEFCON, and yes, he might get a 4-pointer, but I still think we probably back West Ham to score. Virgil van Dijk, yeah, I would agree. Like, Virgil van Dijk is the one that I would like, but they are playing a Forest team who will have a new manager. Forest have got to start scoring some more goals. They looked much better on Thursday night. It is Van Dijk. I agree. Like, if I was buying a defender this week and I had all the money, Van Dijk would be top. O'Reilly is also like not bad, but again, with the blank in 31, it's a difficult buy for Van Dijk. Like, Matty Cash maybe, but Leeds are a no pushover. Like, anyone who's tried to play defenders against Leeds this season will know that trying to predict clean sheets against Leeds is really difficult. They score goals. So, as much as my defense looks bad this week, fully hold my hands up that my defense does not look good this week. Absolutely. I also look at the fixtures this week. Like, if you look at Rob T on Twitter, like, you look at his projections for this week. Where are they? Yeah, here. Rob T's latest projections. In terms of clean sheets, Chelsea are at the top with 46, right? But I'm not going to buy a Chelsea defender this week. Palace are second with Arsenal. Palace at home to Wolves. This Palace side, who are all over the place, are second. Outside of that, there's no one really above 30%. There's quite a lot around that 30% chance. But yeah. Like, the projections, the clean sheets are really hard to predict this week. Really hard to predict. If you don't have a Chelsea defender. I do think your Chelsea defenders might be rewarded this week, though. I expect us to win 2-0. The latest on Glasner, does he get this weekend with the job still? I think he looks like he does. And actually, as a Chris Richards owner, I'd rather he get sacked. I think they're all over the place. I think he doesn't care. I don't think the players care anymore while he's there. I actually think... I actually think as a Richards owner, or anyone with Sarr, anyone with Munoz, maybe not Munoz because they might switch to... anyone with Munoz, maybe because he plays a back five. But apart from that, I think it's better for us all if he was to leave. Sorry, I didn't tweet. I had my tweet scheduled. There we go. Thank you for pointing out. So, a few super chats. Valentin, Sarr, Kelleher, Anderson to Dango, or Roll. Other keeper is Verbruggen. I don't mind. I'd actually look at Verbruggen to Kelleher. I think it's just a better use of your money. Anderson to Dango, I am not doing this week. I'm waiting a week on that. We'll talk about Anderson in just a moment. Captain Jalpedro, we did. Rice from Ozspike. Rice to Semenyo. Would only need one free transfer for 11 in 31. If it doesn't massively impact you in 31, then I don't have a huge issue with you buying Semenyo. I think he's a great buy short term. In week 28, you can buy Vert now, but Szoboszlai would mean you can also get Thiago. This is the thing with Vert, right? I do wonder if there'll be a situation this time next week where people are wondering about Szoboszlai over Vert. Because that money is really useful, right? You can do Thiago and Vert. This question from James. Thiago and Szoboszlai, or you just buy Vert. It's definitely Szoboszlai and Thiago for me. You're selling Rice. Should I get Kelleher or Martinez? If I was buying a goalkeeper this week, it would only be Kelleher. Is Rice to Semenyo worth it if you have no Haaland? Maybe, yeah, just to have some of that City team. I'd be finding a way to get Haaland, if I'm honest. Random guy. No wildcard, 5 free transfers. Do I do Saliba to Van Dijk or Rice to Vert? I would do Saliba to Van Dijk this week, I think. In week 28, you can buy Vert. We've done. Your plan is Rice, Enzo to Dango, Vert next week. Your attempt to do Rice to Dango this week to capture the Brentford fixture. I think I would probably just wait. Cunha and Mane to Wilson and Thiago, or Evan Nilsson to Thiago. I would try and change your squad structure there. So Cunha and Mane out to Wilson and Thiago. Cunha's had a few questions actually for me this week. I still think I'd be looking to hold on to Cunha unless it gets you something like that, like Thiago. I would probably be giving Cunha one more week just to see how it plays out. The fact that Wilson dropped in price I presume he dropped in price. He was predicted to drop. I haven't actually checked, but yeah, he did. Along with Haaland. The fact that Haaland, Calvert-Lewin and Wilson have all dropped in price last night is absolutely crazy to me. Like the Fulham fixtures from next week of Spurs, West Ham at home, Forest away, Burnley at home. 3 of the 4 at home before most of us wildcard in 32. I think Harry Wilson is the best cheap mid in the game to own for the next 4 after this week. Really surprised to see so many people binning Wilson to the fact that he's dropped in price. But listen, there are other players like Dango and Ryan that people are excited to buy, which I get. Like, they're good picks, but I think Wilson is the best still out of the lot. I have explored even buying Wilson into my team next week. Because that like question of Wirtz versus Szoboszlai is because again, like if I do Rice to Szoboszlai instead, it then massively changes what I can do with my team. Like I can suddenly do Tarkowski to Van Dijk, and I can do Anderson to Wilson, just because I go Szoboszlai over Wirtz. Like the benefit to me for going, it's the same. Like we are all very focused on buying Wirtz, but if Frimpong is going to be back and Gomez is going to be back and they can play Szoboszlai back in midfield, there is a world where Szoboszlai is just a better, cheaper pick than Wirtz. Maybe not better, but a better value pick than him. Because again, like the fact that it allows me to go Van Dijk, because if I'm going Wirtz, let me just refresh that page. It's probably easier. Like if I'm doing, I mean, what's really annoying is that I'm 0.1 short of this transfer. I was going to do Richards to Hill. But like this would be obvious, right? If I could do those two moves, but I'm 0.1 short of it. So I probably would have to sell Dorgu, which doesn't feel like a great use of a third transfer. Maybe I'd just sell Tarkowski. Like I could also do Tarkowski to Konate, right? And go Konate over Van Dijk. Like it's not the end of the world for just a few weeks. But yeah, I do think there's a world where people just go Szoboszlai. I think there's a world where people start to go Szoboszlai over Wirtz in order to save that money, basically. And if you're planning on buying Wirtz, but you're short of money for other transfers, just consider Szoboszlai over Wirtz because it's quite a bit of money difference. Start Alderete or Saliba or buy Van Dijk for Saliba. I'd probably just start Alderete, especially with Granit Xhaka back. I think it's quite a good fixture for Sunderland defenders, particularly with their DEFCON appeal. Giandre, start 1. Anderson, Hill or Vandenberg. Probably Hill. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I'd start Vandenberg and just hope that Collins doesn't start. I probably would play Vandenberg. Would I do Semenyo and Strand Larsen on wildcard or Watkins? I wouldn't own Strand Larsen on wildcard and I wouldn't own Watkins on wildcard. You don't have Haaland, Palmer, Cap, then sell to Wirtz next week. I mean, presumably that means you've got Ekitike, Thiago. If you're not going Haaland on wildcard, to be honest, I'd probably go Calvert-Lewin as my third forward. If I wasn't going Haaland, I would definitely go Haaland though. Would I start Wilson or Dewsbury Hall? I'd start Wilson over Dewsbury Hall. Yeah. You're starting to think you should just do only my keeper transfer and leave the Ndiaye to Dango move you already planned. I would leave Ndiaye to Dango. I wouldn't do Ndiaye to Dango, yeah. What's the split between me rolling and doing a transfer? I'm rolling my transfer this week. For me, there's too much information to gain over the next week. If, like, let's say we get to next Friday. So the other thing about the potential blank in Game Week 31 is if City and Palace go out of the Cup in the next round, go out of Europe in the next round, they could also not blank because there's a Champions League midweek also between Game Week 31 and Game Week 32. So if Palace were to lose next Thursday and City were to get drawn against someone really difficult, I think they can get Real Madrid, then the chance again of the blank for City in 31 would drop, and then it might make me more inclined to buy Semenyo over buying Wirtz as an example. So I'm going to roll. The other reason that I'm going to roll, and I mentioned this earlier on in the stream, is what I saw from Elliot Anderson on Thursday night. First game under the new manager. Very impressed by Anderson and what I saw in that game. I saw him in the box, the opposition box, more times in that game than I think I've seen him for the entirety of the season so far. Now, that doesn't mean he's suddenly going to be there all the time. He's not going to get attacking returns every single week. But he was still getting DEFCON. He got 8 DEFCON in 65 minutes, which is pretty much on course to hit 12 plus DEFCON in that game. He was still taking set pieces from one side, even with Hutchinson and Gibbs-White on the pitch, which is a boost. And he was just so much more advanced. Like, even to the point where he was standing on the edge of the box, waiting for the cutback and things like that. I reckon he gets more attacking returns between now and the end of the season than he's got so far this season. I mean, I'm guessing. He might not play that far forward against Liverpool, which is completely fair, but that's why I've benched him. Because I think he's a 4-pointer this week. But I think he's still a good pick going forward. And if there's any Forest fans in the chat, let me know what you think. And the other thing is, he's still in with a shout of being on pens. There's still a shout with him being on pens. So I just don't think I need to rush to do the transfer of selling Anderson when I think there's a positive for him under this new manager. They're playing more. Instead of a 4-2-3-1, it's more like what Chelsea play. He's playing. That is a great comparison. And now, this doesn't bode well because I know he's been frustrating for the past couple of games. He's playing the Enzo Fernandez role, I would say. He's playing that sort of box-to-box, Enzo late runs into the box. He's playing that sort of Enzo role compared to previously he was playing, I don't know, he's playing the Enzo role, the Declan Rice role, that sort of late into the box, edge of the box type role, compared to being the Caicedo effectively or the Zubamendi. Effectively, he's changed and become more of an 8 rather than a 6, if that makes any sense. If that makes any sense. So I just don't feel like I need to rush to sell Anderson. I mean, I could do with some more exciting players, completely granted, but Dewsbury Hall, like, he does have it in him sometimes when you least expect. Like, okay, 16 points at home to Forest, probably expected, but 9 at home here, 16 at home, 13 away, like 12 here. Like, he does have that. Now, he does get a lot of 2-pointers. I do agree. But he does have the ability to get, like, he's very involved in Everton. Whereas I don't think I'm going to get much from Anderson. Anyway, so that is why I'm planning on rolling. Anderson as a box crasher was not on a bingo card this season. I know, but I've always said so far this season that I think the downfall of the previous Forest managers is they've hampered Anderson. Now, I watch more Forest than the average person because Holly supports them. Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I almost got round to it, but then I realised I was very late for my stream.
I know. I saw the tea bag and the cup and I thought, you probably want a tea.
Yeah. I was very late. Timber or Anderson. I'd play Timber over Anderson, definitely. If Anderson was at home, then maybe, but and Burmo to Palmer. I wouldn't do that, I don't think. Again, my opinion on Chelsea attackers is different to a lot of other people. They'll probably score 3 or 4 goals today, and it will look great even for a 1-week punt, but I can't do it for the long term of my team. Harry talking Anderson into being the next Cole Palmer. Yeah. Anderson's got it all. He's got it all. Holly does play FPL. She's not having the best season. I can't actually remember how she's doing this season. I haven't looked recently. It's been so long since the last game week. She's had a lot of Forest players, which did her well last year, but it hasn't done her quite so well this year. Thiago to Bowen. A lot of people who want to know this. I would do Bowen to Thiago, yeah. I would, yeah. Would I cap Palmer if I had him? Yes, I would. Do I plan to keep Raya? Yeah, probably. There is a world with the potential... Again, I could sell Raya. Again, I have looked at selling Raya, and actually it might be a reasonable possibility for me next week. So I would never say never. Like Raya to Kelleher gets me Rice to Vert, of course. And it leaves me 0.8 in the bank. So I can do Tarkowski to Van Dijk. I can do, you know, Dorgu to any 5 million defender. So there is a world, instead of trying to take little bits of money out of this person and that person, that I just buy Kelleher in place of Raya to get the money for Burnley away, Bournemouth away, Wolves at home, Leeds away. 3 out of 4 is away, though, which doesn't feel great for a goalkeeper. Tarkowski, I'll either keep benching him or I'll sell him. Basically. That's the plan. So I might sell Raya, but I also could sell Tarkowski, which probably feels like it makes the most sense. I could sell both. Like, yeah, Tarkowski is the obvious way to free up money, but I could then do, like, Tarkowski to Van Dijk, right? And Raya to, as I said, to Kelleher. That would leave me a bit of money in the bank as well to, like, upgrade Richards. I would then need one extra transfer. That's the issue. To get a full team out in... because I'd have Van Dijk, Anderson, and I'd need one more transfer to get a full 11 out in 31, because Gabriel blanks, Richards blanks, and Dorgu is injured. So I would say I'm not going to sell Raya, but there is a possibility that I sell Raya. Richards to Hill. I'm 0.1 short of Richards to Hill, Rice to Vert. It's very annoying. If I could do that, it would be the most obvious 2 transfers that I could make. But unfortunately, I'm 0.1 short of it. I would need a Vert blank and a Declan Rice haul this weekend in order to be able to afford it. But actually, I think Rice is going to fall in price tonight if he didn't fall last night. So I won't be able to afford those 2 transfers effectively. So would I do Timber to Van Dijk this week or next? I probably would just hold off. I think there's a benefit to rolling this week, so I probably would just wait. Couldn't I do Rice to Semenyo instead of Wert and Tarkowski to Van Dijk? Perfect money for it, and you're fine for 31. You just need to drop Richards. No, because then I would have to drop Richards, Dorgu. I would then have an extra player blanking. So it's 2 transfers I would then need to fix it. I'm also not certain that Semenyo is better than Vert. That might sound crazy, but I'm not certain that Semenyo is better than Vert. And let's say that City do draw. Like, if you look at the Champions League brackets, and this is the benefit, right? Because if City get... So Bodo Glimt won 3-1. So City could get them, in which case Semenyo might get rotated. But if City get Real Madrid, which I believe is, the 6th and 7th of April, and then is either side of West Ham away, home and away leg versus Real Madrid. So what will happen is, this is my issue with Semenyo, right? And this is part of the reason that there's a benefit to wait. So let's say that City get Real Madrid in the cup. You've got to remember that part of the reason Semenyo was a great pick earlier on is he couldn't play in Europe. So they play Newcastle at home, then a full midweek off before Leeds away. Then they would play, if they get Real Madrid, they would play Leeds away, Forest at home midweek, weekend of Newcastle away in the FA Cup, then midweek Real Madrid away, weekend West Ham away, midweek Real Madrid at home, followed by a Carabao Cup final at the weekend. I'm not certain if they do get Real Madrid that Semenyo will play Leeds, Forest, West Ham. Because they'll have Newcastle away in the FA Cup, they'll have a Carabao Cup final, and they will have 2 Real Madrid legs in the Champions League in and around these Forest and West Ham games. I also don't think Doku is that far away from being back. It feels a risk. And then a potential blank. It just feels a risk. It just feels a risk. Because all it takes is Semenyo to miss one of these next 4 and City to blank, and suddenly you're buying a player who's got 3 and 5. If I had money for Rice to Wirtz, I would probably do it this week. The only benefits to not doing Rice to Wirtz this week, again, is the world where Szoboszlai looks a better pick than Wirtz. So there is a benefit to not doing it. Adam, how are we doing? Play Rice or Mane? I'd play Rice. I saw the poll. I'd play Rice. Or transfer Rice to Wirtz, or just play Rice. If you've got money for Rice to Wirtz, I feel like I probably would do it. But as I said, there is a benefit to waiting just for Szoboszlai. I just don't, Adam, I'm going to be honest, I don't think that you're a Szoboszlai type of manager, so I don't think that's going to impact it very much. So I probably would just go to Wirtz, but it depends how you feel as a Spurs fan. I probably would do Rice to Wirtz if I could. But there is a benefit to the extra information with Europe, with the draw that we've got next week. And that doesn't just go for Semenyo, right? That goes for someone like O'Reilly. That also goes for someone like, I think Haaland will play them all. But it's an impacting factor. If they get Real Madrid in the round of 16 and they've got Newcastle, there's just so many fixtures. I don't think Semenyo plays them all. He might miss the Newcastle game. It's possible. We don't know which one. He might not play the cup final. But if Doku is back, if Savinio's back, it's too much. Is Tavernier fit and available? We don't think he'll start today. I expect Tavernier to be on the bench at a maximum, and he'll either be on the bench this week and start next week, or not be in the squad and then be on the bench next week. Do I really think City can't beat Real Madrid? Hate for City? No. I 100% think Real Madrid, City can beat Real Madrid. But I do think Pep will want Semenyo for both of those legs of that competition. If they draw Real Madrid, he's going to want his best team in both of those legs, which includes Semenyo. So where he rests him in West Ham in between them. Because it's also possible. It's also possible that they could have a Wednesday, Tuesday turnaround in the Champions League with a West Ham game in the middle against Real Madrid on the Wednesday and the Tuesday. Now, he might not want Semenyo in those games because he's not played Champions League football before, but you just don't know that. That's my point. He'll need to focus on the league as well. Absolutely. So I'm basically saying that I don't think Semenyo will play every single one of those games. And I don't know which he's going to miss, but it's a risk. Now, if they don't get Real Madrid, then it might be more obvious, because if they get Bodo Glimt, then maybe that's where he rotates. Yeah, so West Ham City is 12:30. If they get drawn on the Wednesday night, it will get moved to 8. It's basically a 50-50 whether that deadline moves. Bowen to Thiago this week or wait? I would probably do it, yeah. Bench 1, Enzo, Rice, Bruno Fernandes, Semenyo, Haaland, Ekitike, Thiago. I think it has to be Rice. I don't like that decision, and there's quite a few people with a similar dilemma, and I just think it has to be Rice. Enzo, Rice, Bruno, Semenyo. I mean, I don't know who the midfielder is that you're definitely starting, because you've only listed 4, but yeah. Start Hill, Cash, or Mark Gay. Probably Cash, I think. Probably Cash. It wouldn't be Hill. It wouldn't be Hill. Yeah. Captain Haaland or João Pedro? Haaland just over João Pedro for me. Start Wilson or Rice? Rice over Wilson. Other one is Wilson. Dan, I'd bench Wilson. Alex, apologies. Who would I have on wildcard? Dangle or Thiago? Thiago, I'd consider both, but yeah, Thiago. Risk Collins over Saliba? Probably not. I'd probably play Saliba over Collins. Foden, keep or sell? Sell. I was actually doing something earlier on one of my videos this week, and I was like, I wonder if there's anyone still with Foden left. Should I put him in my benching ranking? But I would sell him. Any chance Haaland doesn't start? I don't see it. He's back. He's basically not been injured, I don't think. So I think Haaland starts. Start 3 of Rice, Chalobah, Timber, Munoz, and Van Dijk. Currently benching Rice and Timber. Timber I would bench because the other defenders are better. Rice versus Van Dijk. I would probably play Rice over Van Dijk. Personally. I would bench Timber, but I'd probably play Rice over Van Dijk. Start Nunes or Timber. I'd play Nunes probably at home. It's quite close though. Probably play Nunes over Timber. Is it worth doing Ekitike to João Pedro and then back again? No. And João Pedro is guaranteed better points. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Yeah. I wouldn't do that just to go back. I would never do a transfer just for 1 week in order to flip it back. Yeah, I know someone just said Brentford are the early game. We don't often get team news for Brentford, but if anyone sees anything on Twitter for any of the teams at 3 o'clock, do tag me in it, and I will take a look. Harry, Chelsea fan here. Would I triple captain João Pedro? Probably not. I would. If you haven't used your triple captain now, I would save it for and just hope there's a double later on in the season. No way am I not playing Dorgu this week. I am going to play Dorgu this week, but I just don't want to answer it. I'm probably going to bench Gabriel. Gabriel, this is his punishment for failing as my triple captain. I mean, failing, I scored 7. But that's my punishment. I have also tempted just to bench like Thiago or someone, but yeah. Farbrough, let me have a look. You have both Dewsbury Hall and Krupi. Who's priority to sell? I I mean, Krupi. I'd rather Dewsbury Hall than Krupi. Who to sell of Tarkowski, Richards, Timber? Timber because he blanks, probably, but also Tarkowski. You're thinking of selling Van de Ven for Hill, Rice for Dango, and Guy for Thiago. Yeah, I like that. Nice couple of transfers to free up the money for Guy to Thiago. Yep. Who's the best replacement for Bruno G with 1.5 in the bank? How much is Bruno G exactly? 6.9. So you have exact money for Verts, right? So probably Verts. If you've got the exact money for it. Josh says, screw it, I'm selling Timber for Van Dijk now. I'm not completely against that. Like, I don't think it's a bad transfer. I'd probably just err on the side of rolling in that situation, but I don't think there's that much in it. So no issues with it. And if you're fed up, then sometimes in this game, you've just got to rage transfer players out. We've all been there. Thank you all very much for joining. Again, if you could drop a like on the stream, that would be great. There are 4,000 of you in who haven't liked the stream. If you could, that would be much appreciated. Bench one out of Gay or Anderson. I'd play Gay over Anderson. You're telling me now Thiago could not buy a goal. I don't know. At home, they're definitely better. They've got all of their players back. Reece Armstrong. Best Cherky replacement. Go Dango. Got Wilson and Thiago. Yes, probably. It depends how much money you've got. If you can't get up to Rodgers or Verts, then yeah. Adam. You know how much you'd like people to like your stream, and you've got all this way and not liked it. Outrageous. Will James start this week? Reece James, yeah, he should. With a week's gap either side, I expect Reece to start, yeah. Captain Palmer or Haaland? Palmer over Haaland. Would I double up on Lafie and Mukiele or play Wilson? I'd play Wilson over Lafie. Now, I know that's not great because you're playing him against Mukiele, but it looks like Lafie's lost pens. So I probably wouldn't play him. Start Hill or Anderson? Probably Hill. Would I rather start Wilson or Timber? Wilson. No, Dorgu is not available. See, this is why I don't put him in my lineup until just before the deadline, because I then have to answer why I'm starting a player who's injured for many months. Lafie lost pens. Well, he didn't take one. He didn't take the one in the FA Cup over the weekend. He missed the last one. And then he didn't take the one at the weekend when he was on the pitch. So we're probably expecting the fact that he's lost pens. But Diarra took it. Now, Diarra doesn't always play 90. He played 90 against Liverpool, to be fair. And against Arsenal, he played 90. So, yeah, the player who took the pen over him is playing 90. So, we think Lafie is not on pens anymore, having chipped it down the middle when he did the other day. Varon, thank you very much. We will be putting subscriber only mode on. You literally have to subscribe for... Oh, it's already on subscriber only mode. Oh, I've got to take it off. Well, it's already on. Why do I not consider Rice to Rodgers? Because I think Rice is still a decent enough pick this week. Like, Rice scored 17 points across the double. I'm really surprised that people are hating on Rice quite as much as they are. I completely get if you're hating on Timber because he's just blanking at the moment. But Rice scored 14 points. He was the highest scoring player across the double. So I think Rice is a fine hold. And I want to go, I think, to a Liverpool midfielder next week. You've got 3 transfers. You have Rice. Should I be moving to Wirtz or Rodgers or rolling? Am I holding because you don't have enough in the bank? Yeah, so I want Wirtz and I don't have enough money in the bank. Yeah, so that's why I probably would make the transfer to Wirtz if I could. Could I do a segment for people who have used the wildcard already in terms of strategy? So, Grumpy Mongoose, I don't know whether you left this comment on one of my videos this week or it was someone else, but I've seen a few people asking about me adding a segment to... Let me do a poll now because I'm trying to work out how many people have wildcarded already. Have you wildcarded already? Yes, no. Because yes, I'm going to add a segment into one of my videos during the week, which is just a chat for people who have already played the wildcard. Either into the game week preview, although that's already becoming pretty full for a new video, or into the complete guide. One of those two, I'm going to do a segment every week on for people who have already played their wildcard. I just haven't decided which video it's going to go in. Because like looking at the poll, 30% of you have already wildcarded. So there's a lot of content is just focused around people who plan to wildcard 32. Yeah, I mean, the main thing if you've already wildcarded is to not do a transfer unless you feel it's essential, basically. Yeah, like 30% of you have already wildcarded. So there should be more focus on content to tailor to give you what you need as well. So that's interesting. Start Evanilson or Anderson. Evanilson, definitely. People saying if Timber is benched, should you get Van Dijk? There's just no way of knowing. Because they don't play until tomorrow. We're just not going to hear anything on Timber. I think Timber starts. If you genuinely think he might not, then yeah, sure. But they don't play until tomorrow. So. Yeah, there'll be no leaks on Arsenal, so you won't really get anything on Timber. Any planned transfers? No. The plan is to roll the transfer this week. Punt on starting Tavernier. I'd be very surprised if Tavernier started. I probably wouldn't know. Next week, maybe if we have more information. Like if he's on the bench this week, then next week, yeah. But I'd be very surprised if he starts this game. I wouldn't be starting Tavernier, I don't think. Is it better to buy Adley rather than Ryan? I personally wouldn't buy either now. Brooks back, Tavernier back. There's too much risk in those Bournemouth attacking spots, particularly when game week 28 and 29 are very close together. Do I start Anderson or Alderete? I'd go Alderete over Anderson. Trossard to Szoboszlai. Yeah, no issues with that transfer. Yep. I would be looking to sell Trossard, probably. He is expected to start, so you could just hold on to him. But yeah, if you've got Trossard, you went him for the double, I probably would look to move him on. Timber over Richards, you have Gabriel. Yes, as a Palace defence owner, I would do anything in your power to play anyone else over your Palace centre-back. The issue I've got is my 2 options to play over Richards this week are Tarkowski, who is equally rubbish, and Dorgu, who is injured. So I don't really have a choice, basically, because I can't play Tarkowski when I've also got Mbermo and Bruno in my team. Somerville for Bruno G, not with those upcoming West Ham fixtures, no. It looks too difficult. Timber to Van Dijk, Rice to Rodgers, or hold for 4 transfers for next week. You've already wildcarded. See, if you've already wildcarded, they feel like non-essential transfers this week for me, so I probably would hold off. I'm planning to wildcard in 32, yeah. Should I start Pickford or Raya? Still got to be Raya for me, I think. If you've got Pickford and Raya, you're spending an awful lot on goalkeepers. And I would be looking to sell one of them as soon as possible if you need some money. But yeah, I'd probably play Raya over Pickford. Do you play Evan Nielsen or Semenyo? Semenyo over Evan Nielsen. Evan Nielsen is the most bizarre footballer. I really don't understand what he does. He's great for the team, and I get that, but as a striker, he really doesn't score enough goals. He really doesn't. Like, I've seen people looking to buy Evan Nielsen over the next couple of games. I would just let that go now. Your long-term plan includes Bowen to Thiago on a tight budget. Your top 10k in the world looks like Thiago will increase. Would I do the transfer now? Yeah, I would. Regardless of rank or budget, I would do Bowen to Thiago this week, I think. Like, I know Bowen's still got a decent enough fixture, but I would probably just get it done. Would I bench boost Dubravka away at Chelsea, Dango, Mukiele and Hill this week? No. I mean, I'm surprised you're benching Dango and Mukiele, but I wouldn't bench boost that, no. Would I start Sanchez or Kelleher? Sanchez over Kelleher. If you're bench boosting in a single game week now, your bench has got to look perfect. And, I mean, Dubravka away at Chelsea doesn't. I mean, he might get some save points and stuff like that, but no, I wouldn't. One bench, Gabriel, Munoz, Cash, Timber, Rice. Probably Timber. Captain Haaland or Thiago? Haaland for me. He's my captain. Thiago's not even getting my vice. But yeah, Haaland is top of the order for me. Do I see Haaland as a better caption option than João Pedro? It's quite important. So I just think a lot of what City do is still going through Haaland. Newcastle without Bruno Guimaraes. Haaland on pens is always a deciding factor. João Pedro is not. Yeah. I just think Haaland's slightly above. I think it's really close, but I do think I'd rather have Haaland cap than João Pedro. I think João Pedro will get a return, but I still think Haaland and João Pedro will both do well. Munoz, Gay or Timber. You've got Gabriel. I'd probably play Timber over Gay, so probably bench Gay. Garner to Dewsbury Hall and Foden to Palmer. I mean, I don't dislike the transfers because Dewsbury Hall and Palmer are good enough, but I'm not sure. Like, I think I'd rather do like Foden to Vert, Garner to Dango. I think that's a better combination personally. It depends how much you want Palmer. It's pretty difficult to answer because I feel like I've made my bed that I'm not going to buy Palmer. And I don't really have a way to do it this week. In order to rise up to Palmer, I'd have to free up so much money. So I'm just not going to do it. And anything he does today is like, yeah, it's going to absolutely punish my rank because I don't own any Chelsea again, basically. So it's not great for me, but I'm letting Chelsea go. Like, if I haven't bought Chelsea up until this point, I'm not going to buy them now. That's basically where I'm at. So I don't love the piling into Palmer transfers now, if I'm honest. But would I prioritise selling Anderson or Lafie? I'd sell Lafie, definitely. Bench 2, Raul Jimenez, Anderson, and Dewsbury Hall. Anderson, to be honest, I'd bench Anderson. And I'd play Jimenez and Dewsbury Hall. Why don't I transfer in Wirtz or Szoboszlai? Because I want Wirtz, and I can't afford him for Rice without making a second transfer, which I could do Tarkowski out, but I'm keeping an eye on which Brentford defender start this week, because I want to buy one of them, really. If not, I'll just buy James Hill. Timber to Van Dijk, you have Gabriel. So I personally wouldn't do Timber to Van Dijk. I think it's really close, but I wouldn't do it. No. João Pedro or Thiago? João Pedro this week, but long-term Thiago. Haaland or Strand Larsen captain? 100% Haaland. Strand Larsen's a decent differential if you've got him, but Palace at the end of the day look all over the place. I wouldn't want my captaincy on a Palace player. Your wife calls me the Ekatike guy. Why? Is that because I just hold Ekatike all this time and he doesn't do anything? Is that why? I don't think that's a good name to have. Holding players who blank all the time and getting a nickname for it. I mean, he did score the brace a couple of weeks ago, which was good. So let's hope he gets some more goals, right? Yeah, so the plan is to roll, yeah. I wouldn't captain Enzo. Chelsea predicted lineups have Enzo in the 8, deeper than Palmer, and with 2 wingers, which, you know, it's not the worst, but it's probably enough to put me off. That this week. Haaland or Semenyo captain? Haaland or Semenyo captain? Haaland. Someone just said in the chat, aren't I the enough is enough guy? Right, so... Wait. Wait. Wait, where's the other one? Esteval hat-trick today. We will be there for it. Dear. It's not merch. I just got them for me to wear during the streams. Enough is enough. When I get a red arrow, I'll wear this... I'll wear this on in my video and start it by saying enough is enough. But yeah, this one says, I realized that people spell it Howawe, but yeah. I got this one as well. Yeah, I need another one that says I'm rolling. Enough is enough, I'm rolling. Dear. Am I wildcarding? No, I'm rolling my transfer instead. Enough is enough. Start Alderete or Anderson or Hill. Alderete at home. Oh, yeah, I should get Ben Mee one. That's a great shout. Thanks, Adam, for the idea. Anderson or Krupi Jr. for the bench. I'd play Anderson over Krupi, definitely. Where's the link for the merch store? The merch store doesn't exist yet. I should get a t-shirt saying, I love Saar. I don't love Saar, though. I don't love Saar. I just bought them off this, like, random website. They are, to be honest, they're not the... They're all right. Like, they're not the greatest quality. So if I was ever to do merch, it would be... it would need to be from somewhere else, because... yeah. Holding Ekatike because he can't blank forever. Or he can. We can. Do I like Timber and Rice to Van Dijk and Semenyo for a hit? No, I don't. Not for a hit. Ekatike to Thiago will get Verts next week. I don't love that. I think Ekatike is equally as good as Thiago. If it gets you Verts, then I'm not completely against it, but no. What is up, everyone? Need an FPL Harry mug. I'll get all the bundle. The whole bundle. Is Mane a good choice because of Palace? I don't mind starting Mane. But I think there's probably enough other good options this week. As a Chelsea fan, why don't I have enough Chelsea players for the last 3 weeks? So when I got another red arrow this week, Holly questioned me, said, why have you not got any Chelsea players when they punish? She was like, who's hurting you that you don't own? And I was like... Chelsea. And she's like, why have you not got any Chelsea players? And I was like, right. The Chelsea players that I could have bought, I could have gone to João Pedro for Thiago. I could have done that, but I didn't because I wanted Thiago for this run. Fair enough. João Pedro was a mistake. I was never going to buy Palmer. The Chelsea defence has done nothing, and Enzo's not really done anything either. Since I bought Mbeumo, when it was Mbeumo versus Enzo, Mbeumo's got a goal and an assist, and Enzo's done nothing. So it's really only João Pedro that I can look at that I've made a bad decision on. I was never going to buy Palmer. Palmer was never on my radar. Is Vert a better pick than Szoboszlai? Yes, he is. But just consider what else he could do. What else the money could do for you? Copium. Yeah, probably fair. Probably fair. Why do I not like Palmer? It's not that I don't like Palmer. I just didn't think his minutes were going to be as good as they are. He scored 3 penalties in 2 weeks. I just didn't see it being as much as it has. Basically, yeah. Would I play Alderete or Rice? I'd play Rice. It's not that I don't like Palmer. I just didn't see it going the way that it has, basically. Yeah. 3 free transfers. Rice and Richards to Vert and Hill. Rice and Richards to Vert and Hill. Probably, I mean, I wish I could do that. I'm 0.1 short of those transfers. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably do them next week. Because I think Richards is equal to Hill this week. So I probably would just roll it. Do I start Wilson? If I had Wilson over Anderson, I'd probably be benching Dewsbury Hall, yeah. What do I think of Rodgers' captain? I don't think he's reliable enough. He's very hit and miss. He's a good player to own over a long period of time, but in any specific week, it's quite difficult to predict his returns. River Fox, apologies. Cunha and 2 free transfers with 0.5 in the bank. Roll or get Semenyo. I would probably roll, have a look at how the Champions League draw goes and try and predict the chance of Semenyo rotation over the next few weeks. Am I going to the Chelsea game today? Yes. So very quickly after the deadline, I'm going to need to leave to get across London to Stamford Bridge. Yep. And watch another Chelsea game with no Chelsea players in my fantasy team. Whilst watch João Pedro and Cole Palmer punish my rank and Enzo and Chalobah punish my rank every week in the stadium with none of them in my team. Just for my own sanity, I should have bought one of them. But watching us win or not even win and owning Enzo would probably have been even worse because he hasn't done anything. Any info on Dango? Nothing yet, no. I will keep an eye on it as well. Is Matty Cash a good choice? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think Matty Cash back in training should start. It's pretty good. The Villa fixtures for the next 6 look pretty good. I was hoping that Matty Cash was going to drop in price, but it doesn't look like he's going to. Dallo or Richards? Probably Richards. Actually, no, probably Dallo. I said earlier, any excuse not to play Richards, I would take it. Who's the best at triple captain, Ekitike or Thiago? I wouldn't play a triple captain this week. I would save it for the doubles later on in the season. Chelsea predictions, probably. I think we'll win easily. I think we'll win 2-0. 3-0, probably. Goal for Palmer, goal for João Pedro, goal for Enzo Fernandez, assist for Reece James, assist for Palmer, and assist for Pedro Neto. Yeah, the Man United mids need to do some heavy work on Monday night, which is probably unlikely. Or Dewsbury Hall. Some of them on Monday night. 3 of my 4 mids playing on Monday doesn't feel great, but it's where we are. If I owned Palmer, would I cap him? Yes, I would be capping Palmer over Haaland. I think Palmer is the only player I'd cap over Haaland. Should we captain Thiago? No, not for me. Still does feel quite hit and miss. I don't think he's the worst one, but yeah. Let me see if there's anything being tagged in on Twitter. No. Thank you for someone for sending me the photo of my shirt. I don't see any news on anything yet. No. Nope. Any leaks? No, nothing yet. We don't really have teams at 3 o'clock that we're expecting leaks for, but yeah, start Rice or Wilson. Rice over Wilson. Captain Bruno or Semenyo. Probably Bruno. Start Maguire, Mukiele or Mark Gay. Probably Mukiele. Fulham at home. Xhaka back. Would I bench boost with Kelleher, Senesi, Timber and Mane on the bench? No, I wouldn't. No, I feel like I don't think you've wildcarded either, so Vert, I probably wouldn't. Your bench has to be really good to bench boost before a wildcard. Start Richards or Anderson. Probably Anderson over Richards now. Thoughts on Esteval? I think he's a decent punt, but I wouldn't be buying him, probably. Yeah, he's not guaranteed to start. I think he probably will, but it's not guaranteed. Cunha or Dewsbury Hall? Dewsbury Hall or Cunha? Probably Cunha. Bench boost, Dubravka, Wilson, Anderson, Krupi. No. Bench boosting Dubravka and Krupi is a definite no. Evan Nilsson to Ektika Thiago for a -4. Probably not worth a hit. No, probably not. For captaincy, Palmer or João Pedro, Palmer, definitely. Wildcard at 33, but I still probably wouldn't know. Haaland getting the full 90. I mean, I see no reason why he wouldn't. Like, I think he's just fine, to be honest. Any Bournemouth midfielders I'd recommend. I wouldn't buy a Bournemouth mid this week. I think they're good this week, but I think next week when Brooks is fully back, Tavernier is fully back, it's going to be chaos in that midfield. Because if you look at it, you've got Adley, Brooks, Tavernier, Ryan for 3 spots. Plus you've then got Krupi and Evan Nilsson for the striker role, with Krupi being able to play in the 10. There's just too much rotation risk in there. I wouldn't be buying a Bournemouth mid now. I wouldn't be buying Ryan. I don't think. Start Richards or Anderson. Anderson over Richards, just about, I think. Sell Haaland for Thiago, Semenyo, Palmer, Wirtz. I mean, if selling Haaland gets you all of those, then I can understand why you'd consider it. But yeah, I wouldn't be doing it. Thank you all, by the way. I've just seen we've hit 1,000 likes on the stream. I appreciate it all. I appreciate it all. Why don't you have an opponent in club this weekend? I don't know. Just says you don't have one. I haven't opened my club pack this morning. Who am I going to... Oh, core. Nightmare. Leeds, core defender. Who have Leeds got? Villa away. Bijol. Yeah, no. Who's on loan? Ooh, Bowen. Oh, that's quite interesting. Who have I got? Do I want to play Bowen over anyone? Yeah, I might actually. I'm going to take Bowen on loan. Sorry, one sec. I'm going to play 5-3-2. And Bowen in up there. And Sposlai in midfield. Cool. You have both Tarkowski and Lacroix. Should I buy Van Dijk for one of them? Yeah, Lacroix. It looks like Lacroix is injured and he... yeah, Lacroix is injured and he blanks, so I would be selling Lacroix. What is my global rank? Just says top 1%, top 3%. Just says 3%. Timber and Potts to Hill and Szoboszlai. Yeah, I think that's a fine couple of transfers. I like Hill. I don't think Hill's quite as good as it makes out because he has got attacking returns kind of against the run of play over the past few weeks. But yeah, I think Hill's still the best cheap option at the moment. Differential captain is basically anyone at Chelsea. Palmer and João Pedro are my favourites. By Wilson or Szoboszlai, probably Wilson. No, if you can afford Szoboszlai, I'd go Szoboszlai over Wilson. Gibson, thank you for joining as a base tier member. Welcome to the channel. Benching headache. Do I play Enzo or Rice? Enzo, definitely. If you've got players at home to Burnley, you definitely play them. Timber or Alderete? Probably Timber over Alderete, but it's quite close. What's the main upside of doing Rice to Vert this week instead of waiting? Spurs are quite Spursy. Well, I would say Vert's goal threat is better. Rice has been quite disappointing in terms of goal output over the last few weeks. So I think Vert has probably got higher upside. But they are playing against a Forest team that we don't really know how to predict at the moment with a new manager. But you could say the same against Spurs. So I do think there's a benefit to waiting. But you would never pick Rice on free hit this week, right? But you would probably consider Verts. Raya, Rice and Guiu to Kelleher, Tav, Dewsbury or Thiago. Yes, buying Tav this week. I've seen a few people in that sort of situation where they're making a couple of transfers and they need to downgrade Rice to a really cheap mid and they've got like money for Tavernier. The issue is let's say he's not in the squad this week, then he's probably going to be on the bench in 28, which then means it's quite short term the amount of time you're going to buy him for. The issue is if he's back on the bench this week, he's the best midfielder at that price by like quite a long way. Like if he's playing 90 pens and set pieces, he just looked great. So yeah. My benching ranking says Anderson over other Anderson, but I've got it the other way around. That's because I have to play 3 defenders. If I could play Forrest Anderson over any of my defenders, I would be. But unfortunately, I've got to play the 3 defenders. Yeah. Would I take Palmer in if I have 3 or 4 transfers? If you've got an easy way to do it, then I don't mind it. Especially if you're then going to captain him. Like, if you've got an easy way to do it and it doesn't help you further down the line. Yeah. Then I don't mind it if you've got loads of transfers. Should I do Van de Ven to Hill? Let's realise I got a poll. Van de Ven to Hill. You have Gabriel, Chalobah, Tarkowski and captain Enzo or Haaland. I wouldn't be captaining Enzo. Van de Ven to Hill, I don't mind. I don't think Hill's particularly that much better than the other options you've got there this week, though. Out of interest, which of my FPL new t-shirts do you prefer? Those of you on the stream will probably say, how are we? But enough is enough is maybe better for the video crew. Maybe I need to get one that says roll my transfer or something. Play Wilson or Xhaka. Wilson over Xhaka. Timber's getting benched, you reckon? I don't think he is. I think he'll play. They've got a full midweek off after this. Downgrade Timber Rice to get Thiago in. Yeah, I'd probably sell Timber. Downgrade, probably. Because I do think there is a chance that Timber doesn't start. I don't think it will happen. Play Enzo or Rice this week. Enzo. If you've got Chelsea players, I would never be benching them at home to Burnley. Tarkowski to Van Dijk to play Van Dijk over Richards or Anderson. Yeah, if you want to do Tarkowski to Van Dijk to bench like Anderson, I don't have an issue with that. The reason I'm not doing that transfer is I might have to take Tarkowski down to a cheaper defender in order to afford it. Because like Tarkowski to... Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Because like I could do... Let me get... So, I was doing something else. Like, I could do Tarkowski. The other one I'm looking at is Malik Chaël. Because they've got Everton at home, Sunderland at home. But no Bruno Guimaraes. So if I do Malik Chaël, then I can play him next week. And then Rice, I've got money for Rice to Wirtz. And I don't mind Chaël at home to Everton, at home to Sunderland. It does mean that in 29 and potentially 30, I might need a defender though. Yeah, I'd have to sell probably Richards to someone else that I like for those, which... Again, there aren't loads of them. Like it probably is back to Brentford, like a Coyote or something. So that's why I'm not doing a transfer like Tarkowski to Van Dijk this week, because Tarkowski might have to go to someone cheaper next week, although that could end up being Konate or something like that. You've selected Enzo and Semenyo as your captain in your two teams as differential picks. Don't mind either of them as differentials. I don't particularly like backing... The issue is, and I've spoken about this a couple of times when people have wondered about captaining Foden, for example, is effectively what you're doing is you're backing City to do well, but you're backing it not to be Haaland, or you're backing it to be Semenyo more than Haaland, which is never a bet I particularly I'd ever really want to make. Backing City to win and it not be Haaland involved feels like a dangerous game, which is why I don't love captaining someone like Semenyo or Foden over them. So that's my only issue with it. Start Timber or Dallo. I'd play Timber over Dallo. You've got Raya, Rice and Timber, but no Ekitike or Wirtz. Who's the higher priority? Raya is the lowest priority. I think the thing is, Timber is a bigger priority to sell than Rice, but the alternatives to Rice are much better. So, yeah, I think I'd be selling Timber first this week and Rice next week. A few people in the chat are saying they've seen this tweet that says Haaland hasn't travelled to St James's Park. They're not playing at St James's Park. It's the point of the tweet that it is a joke that he hasn't travelled to St James's Park to make people scared that Haaland's not playing, but they're not playing at St James's Park, so he would never have travelled there, so you don't need to worry about it. Basically, start Enzo, Lafie or Anderson or Forest. I'd play Anderson or Forest over Lafie, with Lafie having lost pens. Keane and Enzo to Hill and Wirtz when you have 4 transfers. I wouldn't sell Enzo before Burnley at home. Nope. Start Hill or Anderson. Anderson or Hill. Again, that's quite a common one. I probably would go Anderson over... No, I probably would go Hill over Anderson. Some people think that Timber's going to get benched. I personally don't see it. He was just very tired and very bad against Wolves. That's basically why. But I don't think Spurs away is the game to bench him, personally. I think he plays, personally, but I don't know. Should I captain João Pedro over Haaland to try and climb up the rank? We're at that stage of the season where questions like this are quite difficult. I still think that Haaland outscores João Pedro, so at the end of the day, you want to captain the player who you think will score the most points, but it's close. It's close enough that I would consider doing that, yeah. Who's a priority out of Ekitike, Wirtz? I actually think Wirtz, because I think Wirtz fits the squad structure a lot better for most people than Ekitike does. And Ekitike feels slightly less nailed than Wirtz does. I think there's a chance that Ekitike might not play Spurs at home, because that's in between the Champions League games. Who can Liverpool get? Club Brugge or Atletico Madrid. Like if they've got Atletico Madrid home and away either side of that, but then if it's Galatasaray, then maybe. But so yeah, we'll have to wait and see. That's the other benefit to not buying this week, because if Liverpool and City get an easy Champions League draw, they're more likely to rotate in that, so the minutes in the Prem become more predictable. But if they get difficult Champions League ties, then you're more likely to have a bit of an issue on your hands with players like Semenyo and Ekitike. You have 3 Arsenal defenders. Start Anderson or Timber. I'd probably still play Timber over Anderson and just go all in. I'd rather Timber over Anderson regardless, I think. People are hating on the Arsenal defence way more than they should, I think. I got no issue with Timber, really. I think he starts. I mean, maybe he doesn't, but I think he probably does. Got no issue with it either. Should you bench boost with Dubravka, Anderson, Nunes, Hill? No. There's no world I'd bench boost before a double with Dubravka away at Chelsea. Basically, if you've got Dubravka as your backup goalkeeper in a single game week away at Chelsea, I don't think I'd be bench boosting. And that goes for pretty much anyone. I don't see any bench being strong enough unless you don't have him as your backup goalkeeper. You have someone else. But even then, in order for it to be good enough, you've probably had to have spent a lot on goalkeepers. Raya to Kelleher this week or next. If you are certain you're going to do it, you can just do it this week. So I think Kelleher has got higher upside than Raya this week, but I will probably just not do that transfer until you need the money. Like if you were going to do Raya to Kelleher in order to do Rice to Vert, then that's fine. But if you're just doing Raya to Kelleher, then I probably wouldn't. Did Wilson to Ryan bench? Did Wilson to Ryan? Wow. Okay. I quite like Wilson. I wouldn't be selling him, I don't think, but bench one of Van Dijk, Mukiele or Ryan. Probably Van Dijk. Van Dijk versus Mukiele is pretty close. Van Dijk versus Mukiele. Maybe I'd play Van Dijk over Mukiele, actually, and play Ryan. I definitely would play Ryan. Captain Rogers, no, I think his returns are too sporadic and unpredictable to risk a captaincy on him, I think. Transfer in Thiago, sub Wilson or Dewsbury Hall. I'd play Wilson over Dewsbury Hall. Would I start Alderete or double Arsenal defence? Probably Timber. If it's Saliba, then maybe not, because I don't think his attacking threat is good enough. But Timber I probably would, because his attacking threat is there. You're 289th in the world. Should I cap Rodgers or go safe with Haaland? Only you can answer that, because it depends what you want. Do you want to risk winning the game, or do you want a top 1k finish? What are you more caring about? Because if you want to try and win the game and that's all you care about, but you also don't care if you drop outside the top 10k, then captain Rodgers. But if you want, I would captain Haaland still in that situation. But it kind of depends. And this is the thing. As we get closer towards the end of the season, I'm going to, as I did in this video, do a small section in my videos about like chasing versus defending. Because if you are in a position where you're chasing, then you need to do things slightly differently. But also it depends how much you're chasing. I was trying to work this out. I think something like 10 points per... So if you're 80 points behind with 10 weeks left, you're definitely chasing. But if you are maybe 40 points behind with 8 weeks left, then I don't think it's quite as drastic. So I think 10 points behind per game week is when you need to officially be chasing rank. So if you're 120 points let down with 10 weeks left, you probably need to be thinking about chasing. But just because you are chasing doesn't mean the differential is the right thing to do, because you might fall further behind. And that's always the debate, right? So you need to run the risk of what happens if you fall further behind. And that's the difficulty for me, right? I'm 170k with 12 weeks left. I would love to be higher up. But also if I start going rogue and it gets worse, then I've also got to take that into consideration, right? Feels like a top 10k finish is off the table now, but after the Dewsbury Hall hat-trick this week, we might be thinking differently. Anyway, Mbermo to Enzo to fund Thiago. No, I wouldn't buy Enzo now. I'd buy Harry Wilson, probably. The reason I like Wilson over Dango is I think the fixtures for Fulham from next week are great. I think he's more reliable than Dango as well. Virgil van Dijk and Alderete or Konate and Mukiele for a free hit. Probably Konate and Mukiele. I'd actually go Konate Ballard. I'd go Ballard over Mukiele now, I think. 4.6, his DEFCON's slightly better. His goal potential is probably better. I think Mukiele is also good though. But like on a free hit, if you want to do something slightly different, Konate Ballard is very different. Dewsbury Hall or Rice. I'd play Rice over Dewsbury Hall. You were top 1,300 2 weeks ago and started to play defensively, and now you're top 200k. Top 20k. It's difficult because basically you still want to try and do the things that score the most amount of points, and you never know which way that's going to be. What I think the year of Haaland will be this week, 170, 160. I think the Haaland captaincy will be a little bit lower because you've got players like Palmer and João Pedro taking some ownership. The Chelsea ownership is going to be scarily high for me. Yeah. Just under 20 minutes to go to the deadline as well. If you could drop a like if you are enjoying the stream, subscribe if you are new to the channel. Like today, I've only got Thiago, Haaland cap. That's all I've got. I'm going to be staring at a huge red arrow by the end of today. I've got no Chelsea. I've got no Rodgers. I've got no cash. There's also like Dango ownership. There's Kelleher Verbruggen ownership. Like, let me know in the chat, how many players do you have playing today? Oh, City Newcastle is 8 o'clock. Oh, it is. That's good. Yeah, let me know how many players have you got playing today. Captaincy counts as just one. Just count captaincy as one. Because pretty much everyone's got their captain to play today. 6. I've got 2. Oh, it's going to be rough. Basically, everyone's got 4, 5, or 6. Big baby. Play 2 of Enzo, Rice, and Mbermo. I'd bench Rice, I think. Everyone's got like 5 and 6 players. You big baby. He's a big baby. That's Roy Keane, isn't it? Who did he say that about? I can't even remember now. Who did he say it about? He's just a big baby. and then it all goes silent, and he goes again. You big baby. Should I do Cunha to Mbermo? No, I think it's too late to buy Mbermo now. Oh, it was about Robbo. Andy Robertson. That's a good one. No leaks on anything at the moment, no. Calafiori is predicted to start, although he's not guaranteed to. I probably wouldn't run the risk. It depends who else you've got in defence. Start Anderson or Enzo. Enzo if you've got... lots of people wondering about benching Enzo and selling Enzo. I'd keep him for one more week, definitely. Definitely. I'm having a look. Someone asked if there are any leaks. I've not seen anyone tag me in anything. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter. 15 minutes to go until the deadline. Oh, that's not a very helpful screen, is it? Triple Arsenal defence or start Elliot Anderson and bench Saliba. I'd start Anderson over Saliba, yeah. Can't bring yourself to captain Haaland as you're 94 points behind. Fair enough. Like, if you've got João Pedro or Palmer, I've got no issue with you backing against it at that point. Is Tarkowski really that much worse than Anderson this week? To be honest, no. I actually don't think he is that much worse. A Fulham Sunderland tomorrow as well. I just presumed they were today. I'm not sure why that game's tomorrow when neither of them are in Europe. But, yeah, I do wonder if Tarkowski ends up being better than... but he hasn't hit DEFCON very much recently either. I just don't want to play Tarkowski when I've also got Mbeumo and Bruno. It just doesn't feel like... I need to do... Like, this is the thing as well. Oh, it's the designated Sky game. The other one's got moved. Oh, fair enough. Like, I do need to do something a little bit to chase as much as I can. Do things slightly more aggressive. And playing a defender against double attack does not feel like it fits into that... Interesting. There's a Brentford account called Talk Bees who often tweets before the game like one player as part of their matchday graphic. And I feel like they're normally pretty good that player then starts. And that player is Van den Berg today. So maybe Collins just is on the bench again, which is probably expected. Start Evan Nilsson or Janelt. Probably Evan Nilsson. Happy belated birthday to Holly. I will pass it on. Sending her and myself blessings. Thank you. Is Thiago a good shout as captain to rise in your mini league? Rise to Dango. I still don't think I'd be captaining Thiago, especially if you're also buying Dango. That feels like you're too much in there. Start Igor Jesus or Gibbs White. Probably Gibbs White. Captain João Pedro or Haaland. Probably Haaland for me. Would do DCL to Thiago for that. Enzo to Dango or Timber to Hill. I wouldn't sell Enzo this week, so I'd do Timber to Hill instead. Is it worth to switch Rice to Thiago for free? Guiu is useless anyway. Rice to Dango for Rice to Dango for free. I wouldn't do Rice to Dango. If you can do Rice to a cheap option and upgrade to Thiago, then I would, yeah. Timber to Van Dijk, I probably wouldn't, but I can understand. It just doesn't feel like it's essential enough this week. Who would I sell Timber for? If I was selling Timber, it would be to Van Dijk, yeah. Unless you need the money, then someone like James Hill or Anderson. Semenyo cap if chasing, I don't mind it. I still think the Chelsea ones are better. Start Anderson or Hill. I'd probably play Hill over Anderson. Who to sell Timber for? Yeah, if I was selling Timber, it would be to Van Dijk. Keen to Hill or just start Tarkowski or Mukiele. I have no reason to think you need to buy Hill when you've got Mukiele on your bench. I don't really understand why people are benching Sunderland defenders. Am I missing something with the Sunderland defence? Xhaka back, home fixture, Fulham. Seems absolutely fine to play your Sunderland defenders in this game. I know they've not been great over the past couple of games, but I wouldn't be rushing to play Hill over... If you even owned Hill and Mukiele, I would say play Mukiele over Hill. So I wouldn't be doing a transfer to bench Mukiele. Which three of these would I play in defence? Timber, Gabriel, Richards, Dallo, Anderson. Richards, I would probably bench. And I probably would play Timber. So Timber, Gabriel, Dallo, and bench Richards, Anderson. That feels great when you're benching two defenders that I'm starting this week. Oh, dear. Double up with Gabriel and Timber or start Cash. I probably would play Cash over Timber, yeah. Elliot Anderson or Harry Wilson, bench one, start one. I'd play Wilson over Anderson. Keane or Krupi, better first sub. Krupi, probably. Tarkowski to Hill. Yeah, it doesn't feel like that essential this week unless you need the money. Ballard. I quite like Ballard as a differential on free hit, but I wouldn't be free hitting this week. I'd be saving the free hit for later down the line, like... yeah, I like Ballard on free hit. Let me look if there's any leaks or anything. We've got 10 minutes till the deadline. Rice to Vert or Rice to Szoboszlai and DCL to Thiago. Again, this is it. This is the whole thing with Vert versus Szoboszlai. Is if that gets you DCL to Thiago, I would go Szoboszlai over Vert. Yeah, I would. Best one on Wildcard, Martinez, Konza, Brobby, or Dubravka, Kanate, Brobby, or Dubravka, Justin, Thiago. Dubravka, I'd go Thiago. I'd find a way of doing Thiago. Keep up the good work. Timber or Chalobah. I'd play Chalobah. Again, if you've got any Chelsea players at home to Burnley, I would play them. Low profile, let me have a look for you. You currently have one free transfer. Should I go from Rice to Vert since you have the money? Or is it better to just roll? If you're in a position with just one free, I think it's better to get the flexibility for next week. Because if anything goes wrong, you're going to have wished you probably didn't do that transfer. So I probably would just roll if you can. If you've just got one transfer, I think rolling is probably better this week. Andreas, Ndai and Mark Guy to Dewsbury Hall, Thiago, or roll and play Anderson. Yeah, Ndai, I don't love selling Ndai, but to get Thiago, I probably would do those moves. Calvert-Lewin or Anderson? Probably Calvert-Lewin. Is Thiago worth a -4 to bench Cherky? Probably not worth a hit, is it? Probably not, no. Start Richards or Anderson. So I feel like this is pretty common. I would probably play Anderson over Richards now. I don't like the Palace chances this weekend at all. 4 free transfers. Rice and Ndai to Rodgers and Szoboszlai. Like, is Ndai to Szoboszlai worth it this week? Just do Rice to Rodgers, I think. I don't think Szoboszlai is better than Ndai this week. Plus, you get the excitement of a Monday night player. Like, what is not to love? I'll be on a huge red arrow by then because I've got so many players left to play. But Mbermo, Bruno, Dewsbury Hall on Monday night. Watch it end 0-0 and Tarkowski get a clean sheet on my bench. Yeah. Okay, so don't definitely play Mark Guiu. That's true. Okay. If you own Chelsea players who are likely to start, then you start them. You don't need to start Mark Guiu. No. Start one of Wilson, Alderete, Richards. I'd probably just about go Wilson over Alderete. It wouldn't be Richards. Why don't I go for Rodgers and sell Cash? Because I want Florian Wirtz in that spot. Longer term, and I don't think the Declan Rice is a bad pick this week at all. Start 2, Timber, Hill, Coyote. I'd probably bench Hill if I'm honest. I'd play Timber, Coyote. Dewsbury Hall or Wilson. I'd go Wilson. What to do about Trossard? I think he's expected to start, so you could just start him for one more and then look to sell him, or you go to one of those cheaper mids. There are lots of good midfielders you can look to buy at the moment. Anderson or Dallo. If it's Anderson of Fulham, I'd play Dallo. If it's Anderson of Forest, I'd play Anderson of Forest. Is it time to get some Chelsea players in? It actually feels like it's too late. Like, Burnley at home's great, but yeah, you've missed all the other good fixtures. Right. Just the other final disclaimer. People seeing the tweet that says Haaland hasn't travelled. It is a joke. It is sarcastic. Of course he hasn't travelled to St James's Park because the match is not at St James's Park. They are playing at the Etihad. So all those tweets saying, I've seen the one, people have tagged me in it. You don't need to worry about Haaland not travelling to St James's Park because they're not playing there. They're playing at the Etihad. So it's not something you need to worry about. Right. We will be starting Dorgu, who is out for a while, over Gabriel. Or do I just play him over Richards or someone? What did he even say about Dorgu? Dorgu back on the grass next week. Hopefully he might be back by game week 30 to 31 and then I don't have to sell him. I just keep him. Why bench Timber for Richards? Would I bench Timber? No, I'd play Timber over Richards. Benching Gabriel. Gabriel will sub into my team for Dorgu. Maybe they won't keep a clean sheet. You hope Dorgu starts. That's the only thing that just... You never know. You never know. Because they play Monday night as well. It's just... I mean, it doesn't gain me anything, right? Let's at least put Dorgu first sub. You hope Dorgu comes off the bench on crutches. Right. How long have we got? 3 minutes until the deadline. Harry Wilson or Timber? Harry Wilson. Timber or Wilson? I'd play Wilson over Timber. Start Senesi or Anderson? I'd play Senesi over Anderson. Guiu to Thiago from -4 to then bench Dewsbury Hall. I'd probably just get the Thiago transfer done. So yes, Tavernier is expected to be back maybe on the bench, but he almost certainly won't be starting. So I wouldn't start him and I wouldn't buy him. Captain João Pedro over Haaland. I think Haaland is safer. If you want to be aggressive and chase, I don't mind João Pedro, but I think I would be on Haaland over the two. I do think I would captain Cole Palmer over Erling Haaland though. Would I play Anderson, Hill, Richards? How would I rank them? I would play Hill first, Anderson second, Richards third in that order. I would probably play Dewsbury Hall over all of those options though. I would also play Anderson in Forest over all of them. Would I captain Semenyo if chasing? Personally, no, I wouldn't. Mukiele or Dallo? Mukiele. I am rolling my transfer. Yes, Senesi or Gabriel? Gabriel, definitely. Timber and triple Arsenal defense or play Mukiele? I'd play Mukiele probably. Appreciate your help. No worries at all. Enzo Lafie or DCL? I'd play DCL because it looks like Enzo Lafie has lost penalties. If you could drop a like on the channel, on the video and subscribe, that would be great. Richards or Timber? Timber over Richards. Mane or Mukiele? Mukiele, definitely. Van Dijk versus O'Reilly is pretty tough. I think I'd actually probably play O'Reilly over Virgil van Dijk. It's quite close though, actually. Maybe just about O'Reilly. Thiago over Haaland captain? No, Haaland for me. Verbruggen to Kelleher or save the transfer? I probably would get it done. I think there'll be enough point swing between those two, between now and a potential wildcard. Mark Guiu or Timber? I'd play Timber. Hill or Timber? I would probably still play Timber. Rice to Rodgers with 3 free transfers. I mean, if you want Rodgers long term, then yes, just get it done. I think Rodgers is better this week. 2 free transfers and you don't have Semenyo or Thiago. 120k rank, would need to sell Timber to get one. Roll or which one to buy? You don't have Semenyo or Thiago. Would I sell Timber to get one? Yeah, I'd prioritize Thiago. Right, so that is going to be the final minutes before the deadline. Please go and check your teams. Hit refresh. Go and check everything is where it needs to be. Go and check captains, confirm transfers, check everything. There was no team news for anything that I saw at all. That is going to be it. That is game week 27. That is the deadline. Rolled my transfer. Captain Haaland, vice captain on Bruno. Playing Dewsbury Hall over Anderson. That is going to be that. The deadline will be about to pass. Go and check your teams. Lock everything in. That is all for game week 27. That is all. That is all. I am, as I've mentioned, going to the Chelsea game. So I will need to rush off to try and get across London for a kickoff in an hour and a half. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Videos will be back as usual on Sunday evening. I appreciate all the support on the channel. If you, Ross and Oscar, I'm sure will be sticking around if you want to go and give them some love. Let me drop a link. I know Ross particularly sticks around to chat at the end of streams and stuff. So if you want light-hearted content about pigeons and that sort of stuff that I can't give you today, go and say hello to... There's the link. Cool. Have a good one, everyone. I will see you on Sunday. Hopefully, it doesn't go as badly as maybe I'm expecting. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe before you go, and I'll be back again very soon.